As you guys know, one of the most popular series on my channel is the series where we go ahead and look at the map backstories. Now, we've looked at a bunch of them, including Contraband, Militia, all of which tie into the overarching story of Black Ops 4. However, today we are looking at Gridlock, a map that really actually doesn't seem to have much to do with the overarching Black Ops 4 story. However, this map still does have a relatively interesting story, and on top of that, there's a few things that we can deduct based off of the other things we know about the Black Ops 4 universe, and actually discover when this map actually takes place, because it appears to be very different than the other maps in Black Ops 4. Also guys, if you enjoy the map backstories and want to see more of these, the way to show me is by simply hitting that like button, because the more likes these video gets, the more likely I am to make more of these videos and continue on with this series. On top of that, if there's any maps that you want to see the story of that I haven't done yet, be sure to let me know what those maps are down in the comments. But if you enjoy this series, want to see more, simply hit that like button and it shows me that you enjoy these type of videos. Now, before we dive into the backstory, there's two things I gotta let you know about. The first of which is actually a teaser that Call of Duty put out today. So this teaser is revolving around the big changes that are going to be made to the Blackout map in Season 3 that comes out on February 19th. Now, as far as these big changes go, they put out this tweet today with a blueprint of the Blackout map with the caption saying, "Here's the plan." Now, I debated making a whole video on this, but really it just supports everything that we talked about yesterday. So if you haven't checked out my video yesterday talking about the potential changes to the Blackout map, it'll be linked on the screen as a card, and basically this blueprint actually supports everything we talked about yesterday. Now, the second thing I wanted to tell you about is that later today I will be live streaming over on Twitch, and I will be doing an open lobby, which means I will be playing some Black Ops 4 with you guys. So if you want to check out my live stream, or you just want to play some Black Ops 4 with me, my Twitch will be the first link down in the description, and the stream should start a little bit later today than normally. Normally I start about 7 p.m. This one will probably be around 8 p.m. So if that's something you're interested in, or you want to play some Black Ops 4 with me, like I said before, it'll be the first link down in the description. So hopefully I see you there later tonight over on Twitch. But as far as today we are talking about Gridlock, and specifically its backstory. So Gridlock is actually one of the very few maps that Treyarch actually told us the backstory before the game actually came out. Now, the backstory that Treyarch gave us is a Japanese metropolis whose city center has been jammed up by a bank heist gone wrong, which in itself is a pretty damn interesting story, but I'm just gonna go out and say that's kind of bullshit. Based on what we see in the map, that is absolutely not what's happened here. First of all, let's go with the most obvious thing here. There is no bank anywhere around this map. You look at all of the shops around the map, there's no bank there. If you look off into the distance of the map, once again, no bank anywhere to be seen. So first of all, that was kind of the first thing that clued me into that this narrative that Treyarch actually wrote was kind of bullshit. Now, that being said, I do see why they say that. If you look across the map, there's several of these Guardian trucks that are generally used for transporting money, but throughout the map, there is skids of money to be found near these trucks and even somewhat far away from these trucks. On top of that, if you look up into the sky, there is burning money flying around the sky. Now, the second thing that made me think that this was kind of bullshit is that banks simply don't keep this much money on hand. In the United States, generally a bank keeps between $50,000 and $200,000 cash at the bank at a given time. This that we're looking at here, these skids of money, is millions and millions and millions of dollars. Actually, I guess we're in Japan, so technically it's trillions and trillions and trillions of yen, which, as I mentioned, is much, much more money than they would normally keep just in a bank. So that is why I say that it doesn't really make sense that this is a bank heist gone wrong. On top of that, if you actually look at what's going on in the middle of the map, the overpass from the highway going over these shops has completely been destroyed, almost as if an airstrike has been dropped down upon this area of the map. And as we know just from real life, if someone's robbing a bank, the police don't go as far as to drop an airstrike or a bomb on the people that's trying to steal the money. And really, that's what it would take for the overpass to be destroyed to the extent that we see in the map Gridlock. So if that's not what's happening on this map, the question is, what is? So first of all, let's look at what's really going on this map. So first of all, if you look around the outskirts of the map, you very quickly get to realize that this is supposed to be like a touristy part of Japan. You can see things like a tourist booth. On top of that, donut shops, video game stores, clothing stores, and then off to the other side of the map, you can see a bathhouse or a spa. On top of all of this, there is very clearly a lot of writing in both Japanese and English, which would indicate that this is an area where a ton of tourists go, hence why there would be English writing. And as I mentioned before, there's no bank to be seen anywhere around here. Now, as we can also find out just from the lore of Black Ops 4 that we know, this is actually the oldest map in Black Ops 4. Now, the reason why we know this is because of Recon. Now, in Recon's bio, we find out that he is from Japan, and in the year 2038, Japan has a viral flu that goes around and kills millions and millions of people, to the point where big cities are reduced to the 3 digits, hundreds of people living there, as opposed to the previous millions or hundreds of thousands. Now, as we can see from this map, the city is still pretty damn busy. If you go and look at the highway, you can see a lineup of cars previous to the crash, which would mean that this event takes place before that viral flu started going around Japan. So what we know from this is that this map takes place before or during the year 2038, and we know that there is too much money on this map for it actually to be a bank heist. So the question is, what is actually going on here? So the first thing I had to find out is, when would this much money be transported? So I did a bunch of research, as I always do, and as it turns out, these type of trucks that we see on the map can carry a maximum of $500 million, which is a crazy amount, but they very rarely actually do. Normally, they only carry between $200,000 and $1 million, so much less than we are seeing on this map. However, if the trucks are transporting money to the Federal Reserve, that is when they would have this kind of money on hand, and pretty much only then, and that's in the United States, but assumably other countries have similar things as well. So I did even more research, and it turns out one of the times that they send a very, very large amount of money to the Federal Reserve is when a disaster is happening. A disaster like a major bug or flu going around. Now, on top of this, if we once again go back and look at Recon's story, he actually tells us that during this time when Japan was having this flu, there was a ton of rioting and specifically looting. So specifically, what if Gridlock was going on at the time of the flu outbreak, before people had started to get sick, before people had started to die from this flu? What if Gridlock was right at the beginning of the outbreak? The government then decides to send a bunch of their money to the Federal Reserve in these trucks that we are seeing here. And in doing so, people find out about it, blow up the overpass, and then steal a bunch of the money from the trucks. Now, the one other thing that I had to point out, because it doesn't really make any sense, is off to the one side of the map, you can see a bunch of emergency service vehicles. You can see fire trucks, you can see ambulances. However, the one thing you can't see is police cars. There is no police to be found anywhere on this map. And you would think that if this amount of money was being transported, there would be some sort of police escort. Or if this was a bank robbery, there would definitely be police chasing these vehicles. And as it turns out, there isn't. There's no police anywhere on this map, which I thought was just kind of weird if that's what they were trying to design. But if you have any theories as to why there's no police, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Now, the other thing that I had to point out is something that I saw on the Black Ops 4 Reddit. I heard a bunch of people saying that this was actually the 54I or 54 Immortals who planned this heist. That's not true. The 54 Immortals only work out of Singapore. That is the only place in Black Ops where the 54I are from. That is where Seraph is from. And obviously this map takes place in Japan, so clearly it couldn't have been the 54I that did this. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the backstory of Gridlock. As I mentioned, it doesn't really tie into the rest of the Black Ops universe. It is kind of cool to get to see the story of Recon and the story of Gridlock get tied together. And it's also cool to mention that this is the oldest map in Black Ops 4, as most of the other maps take place between the years 2040 and 2046. This one, as we talked about, clearly takes place around 2038, before that flu outbreak that we talked about earlier. But guys, as I mentioned before, if you enjoy these type of videos, you want to see more of them, simply hit that like button. It shows me that you enjoyed the video and shows me you want to see more like it. Also guys, if you have any other theories about this map, feel free to let me know down in the comments. And if you're new to the the channel and like what you see and want to stay up to date on all my videos, the best way to do so is make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you have notifications on. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
Listen.